So, according to some statistics from the FBI, in the case of kidnappings and abductions together in the United States, there are 50 to 54,000 per year. Out of those 50 to 54,000, only 1% of those involve victims who are over the age of 70 years old. We're going to talk about that and a few more stats on this episode. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Crime After Dark headquarters. My name is Lisa. Thanks so much for joining me, guys. So, with the Nancy Guthrie case, everybody has been asking who did it. Okay, um, that's usually the first question that goes into everybody's minds is who could do this to this poor, older woman? Like that's, you know, it's unthinkable. Okay. But I wanted to take a little dive into I can't say the word. I'm sorry every time. Statistics. I wanted to take a look at those and see how they relate to Nancy's case. Okay. I think that it's helpful to understand the stats. I'm just going to say stats. Okay. It's easier. I think it's helpful to kind of take a look at those in relation to the Nancy Guthrie case. So, one researcher that has studied violent crime extensively is Dr. Gary Brucato. He's a clinical and forensic psychologist whose work focuses on severe violence, personality disorders, and criminal behavior. Dr. Brucato has also worked alongside Dr. Ann Burgess and serves on the expert panel for the Cold Case Foundation. He's often a guest on The Interview Room on YouTube, which I love to watch. Okay. So there's one particular video from The Interview Room, and I will link it down below here, and it's a must watch. Okay, because Dr. Gary goes over a lot of what I'm going to tell you and more. All right. So one of the first questions that investigators will ask is, what type of crime are we looking at? So, generally speaking, in regards to the Nancy Guthrie case, I think it's one of three options. It's going to be a burglary, an abduction, or a homicide. All right. So, in Nancy's case, when it comes to burglary, released information, to the public, they've said that, nothing was taken from her home. Her purse was there, her phone, um, you know, uh, all her other valuables in the house. So because there was nothing taken from her home, we can just kind of cross that off our list. Okay, burglary, is not one of the three possibilities when looking at this. Okay, according to what they've told us so far. So it leaves two possibilities, and both of those, have received, a lot of attention, and for good reason. And those are abduction and homicide. Okay. So, how rare is an abduction like this? According to Dr. Brucato, there's only a few hundred true stranger abductions each year in the United States, and the overwhelmingly majority of abduction crimes are children. Older adult victims are extraordinarily rare. Okay. So, according to the stats from Dr. Gary Brucato, there are now this is abductions only, okay? Not kidnappings, just abductions. There are 350 abductions per year in the United States. The vast majority are children and they are taken by people they know. Even more rare is the abduction of older adults. Okay. So, what he says goes along with that 1% stat from the FBI about that very small percentage. 1% of the victims are age 70 years and older. Now, if Nancy was abducted by a stranger, if you're going according to the stats, she would fall into an extremely uncommon category. Okay. So we can kind of rule that out as well. So now we can take a look at homicide stats in regards to Nancy Guthrie, unfortunately. So when we're going to examine the cases that involve female victims, okay? Research shows female homicide victims are most often killed by someone they know rather than a complete stranger. So when investigators are looking at possibilities, it's good to consider what the stats are, what's common and what is rare. Let me go back to my homicide statistics here. So with the homicides, 60%, this is according to Dr. Gary Brucato now, okay? In relation to homicides, 60% of the victims know the person that killed them. For females only, and this is staggering, 50%, not 50%, 92% females know the person who killed them. I'm going to say that again. 92%. That's a really high percentage. 92%. I'm going to say it again. Now, Dr. Gary also mentions sexual assaults. 8 out of 10 of those, in those cases, are also by someone that the victim knows, okay? Sexual assault in an older person, 70 and older, extremely rare. And when it does happen, he has stated that it's usually a serial killer who would do that type of thing. Okay, there are certain things that certain crimes they commit. Okay, it's the same all the time. Very, very rare in older adults. Okay. According to Dr. Gary, only 381 homicides per year in the United States are people over 75 years old. Only 381 people a year who are killed over the age of 75. So now I want to talk about something that Dr. Brucato has talked about on the interview room and in this particular video. And the first time that I heard him talk about it, I was like, yeah, you know what? I agree with this. Okay. So there's something that Dr. Brucato himself has coined, okay? He is the one that came up with this phrase or concept. And it's called elimination murder. Okay? An elimination murder occurs when a victim is killed not because of intense rage, jealousy, or a spontaneous conflict, but because the perpetrator sees the victim as an obstacle to a goal. Okay. In these cases, the victim may stand in the way of financial gain, freedom, a relationship, a deception, a desired lifestyle. So, financial gain, that's, speaks for itself. Freedom, it could be, a caretaker who's taking care of, especially in this case, an elderly relative, okay? Even I can't think of any more I can't think of any more examples of that. I'm sure there are some. Okay. A relationship. These, well, yeah, if you broaden it out and just if we're speaking of elimination murder in general, um freedom and relationship a lot of times can go together. There's lots of homicides, where one spouse kills the other because they're having an affair, and they don't want to be married anymore. And I'm going to bring up one of those in a few minutes here. But a deception. So maybe the victim knew something about the perpetrator that the perpetrator didn't want anybody else to know, so they eliminate them. And desired lifestyle that can kind of go in there along with the freedom part of this. So with elimination murder, okay, this is kind of saying that the objection or the objective, I can't talk today, I'm just telling you, the objective of the offender, it's not necessarily revenge, okay? They didn't get mad in the moment, and kill the person. That's not the objective, okay? There's more to it than that. It's not like a rage killing. So in the case of elimination murders, the victim is viewed as a problem to be removed. And Dr. Brucato has noted that these crimes often involve people who already exist within the offender's social or personal world, meaning they know the person somehow, okay? They're in their social circle in some way. They've met them before, okay? So, I think there's, in regards to Nancy Guthrie, I think there's, some questions that can be asked like, who, if anyone, benefited from her absence? I need a drink. Hold on. My throat always gets dry when I do videos. Anyway. So who would benefit the most from her absence? If she was eliminated, who would they benefit? If they were to benefit, how would they benefit? Financially, freedom. There's some way that, the perpetrator or perpetrators would benefit by eliminating Nancy Guthrie. So I don't know. I'm lost in thought as usual. Lost in thought. I'm scrolling here. Okay. So those elimination murders, when it comes to those, and the questions that we have to ask, you know, again, it's somebody that the victim knows, a spouse, a family member, or an acquaintance. So it's kind of like the perpetrator or perpetrators see them as in their way. Okay. So we can rule out that a spouse would have done this. Nancy's husband died a long time ago. So who else would see her as a conflict in their life or in their way? And what would they gain from eliminating her? Dr. Brucato also says that perpetrators often exhibit traits like profound narcissism, sociopathy, an extreme sense of entitlement, allowing them to treat human life as an expendable obstacle. So, a few examples. Oh my God. A few examples of elimination murders. Chris Watts. He was having an affair. He didn't want to get a divorce because, excuse me, happens every time. Get the frog in the throat. Chris Watts did not want to, pay child support if he were to get divorced. So instead, he eliminated his wife. But in this case, he also eliminated his children, which is, that whole case is horrifying for me. Now, this name here, this is my personal opinion, okay, because she was not convicted. She was found innocent by a jury. Casey Anthony. I feel Casey Anthony was guilty, and I feel that the motive for her was freedom, okay? By eliminating her daughter, she was free to do whatever she wanted. She was free to go and party and, all hours of the night, having a little 2-year-old. It's kind of hard to do that. I feel like she did not want that. I feel like she saw her daughter as a burden. That's my personal opinion. Okay. Third example of this elimination murder, and eventually I'm going to do a video about this or talk about it on a live. Once I'm doing the lives, this one is personal to me. Her name was Mary Jane Baker Longo. I went to school with her. I had classes with her. I knew her. I talked to her. Mary Jane Baker was a very sweet person. Very sweet person. She was a Jehovah's Witness. She wasn't allowed to wear makeup or jewelry and had to dress very modest. Her mom made her, there was very strict rules on her appearance. But she was a very nice person. But anyway, she married someone named Christian Longo. And her husband, Christian, ended up killing her and all of their children. And it was said that for him, it was mostly financial. He had gotten himself into a lot of financial troubles. He had a business that wasn't doing well, and he was doing things regarding money that Mary Jane had no idea even what was going on. So to make his life easier, he eliminated his entire family. And their children were very small children. Um, and I still remember one day many years ago seeing the story pop up on the ID channel, Investigation Discovery, and it was very surreal seeing her story, on TV. So eventually, I do want to do a video about her and her children. And she is actually, she has a headstone here where I live. She's buried here where I live, where we grew up, where we went to school. So anyway, those are just a few examples of that elimination murder concept that Dr. Gary talks about. So I think it's telling that in regards to Nancy Guthrie, that stat that only 1%, and that's from the FBI, abductions and kidnappings together out of 54,000 people annually in the United States, only 1% of that are victims over the age of 70. And the stats that Dr. Gary talks about when it comes to, older adults and women, 92% of women know the person that killed them. So I think these are things to keep in mind when we're all digging into, the who did this, why did they do it, how could they even do it? Which I ask myself that daily. But I think these stats are important to look at because I think they do need to be looked at, along with the actual evidence from this case. Okay. So if you want to see Dr. Brucato talk about these stats, in this particular video, he also talks about the personality traits of the porch guy and other people who might be involved in this. He has a chef and waiter theory where he believes there's more than one person involved, that there's a chef who's in charge, the one behind the scenes, the one that you don't see, the one with the smarts, okay? In charge of it all. And the porch guy being a waiter who is just kind of following instructions and really has no emotional connection at all to Nancy. It's just a job for him. So it's very fascinating to watch what Dr. Brucato says about this and the psychology of it all, has always fascinated me when it comes to true crime and the cases. So anyway, check that out. I'm going to link that down below. Make sure to watch it. It's good, and it's a certain clip of the entire live that Chris McDonough did from the interview room. So anyway, guys, that's it for this one. Leave your comments down below on what you think about these stats and what the possibilities could be in relation to Nancy's case. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Take care.